Hello out there, all you GoPro action fans. Tonight we're going to do something a little bit different with the GoPro. Tonight I'm going to show you how to make homemade marshmallows. Not these crappy kinds of marshmallows. We're talking homemade from scratch. From salt, corn syrup, 3 cups of sugar, water, clear vanilla extract, and a few other things. They're really simple. They're incredibly good. That's why I'm recording this. So I'm going to run down through the recipe first of what the ingredients are you need, but don't worry about writing it down because I'll have it at the end of this for you to copy down for you. We're going to start out with 4 envelopes of unflavored gelatin. You can buy them in a little box like this. They're little bags. You tear open the 4 bags and you soak them with a little bit of water, 3/4 of a cup of water with the gelatin in your mixing bowl. I'll show you that in a minute. Then we're going to move on. You have, in addition to the 4 envelopes of gelatin, we have 1½ cups of water, 3 cups of sugar, 1¼ cups of light corn syrup, like this stuff. Don't get it on your hands. 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of clear vanilla, that's this stuff, and 1 1/2 cups of confectioner's sugar that you'll use at the end to keep them from sticking to anything they touch. So first we're going to start by oiling a 3-quart Pyrex baking dish with vegetable oil. Then I'll line it with foil, and then I'll oil it again. So here we have a standard baking pan. I don't know, it's 13 by 8 or something like that. This is the one I use all the time. It's got a piece of foil and a paper towel. What we're going to do is first oil this pan with the Crisco so that the foil doesn't stick. Don't worry about having too much oil, it'll get absorbed. And it just makes it a lot easier to do this job because the marshmallow material, once it's all done, is the stickiest thing you'll ever get your hands on. So I'll do a quick oil wiping like that. Then I'll gently tuck the foil in, being careful to get good coverage in the corners. Try to keep it even so that we have equal amounts of foil on the sides of the pan. You want to get the corners tucked in as tightly as you can so that you keep the outside row of marshmallows looking good, so you don't have to throw those away or, heaven forbid, give them away as samples. So there we have it, kind of tucked in there. I'll just pour some oil in like that. Again, take the paper towel and just wipe that thing down. And this is the part that's most important, that you get ample oil, because this is the foil that you'll have to peel off of the marshmallows after they set up. You have to let them set up for 24 hours or overnight at least so that it cures well. It should be nicely oiled. Next we're going to prepare the gelatin mix. You just need to dump this in here and mix it with 3/4 of a cup of water so that it just gets nicely combined. This will just sit off to the side when we're all done. So I have 1.5 cups of water here. Pour a little in till I get to 3/4 cup. That's pretty good. And then we'll just let that sit. I'll put it over here on the mixer, all ready to go. Okay, next we're going to take our 3 cups of sugar, dump them in a 3-quart pot. Then we're going to pour in 3/4 or the remaining amount of water, our 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then we have to pour in 1 1/4 cups of our light corn syrup. I don't know if you can see this, it kind of pours like grease. Give it a little squeeze to get it out of there faster. I'm going to turn the stove on to high. You have to cook this stuff till it's 240 degrees, which is very hot. Pour in the corn syrup. I usually use a rubber spatula to scrape out the residual that's left on the side of the measuring cup. We want to get maximum yield from these marshmallow batch because they are good. Put that on the stove and let it go. Okay, I have the pot on the stove on high, and you're going to need one of these candy making thermometers because you have to heat this stuff till it boils to 240 degrees, which is quite hot. It'll take about 5 or 10 minutes, something like that, to come up to temperature, and once it's up to 240 degrees, we'll mix it into the mixer with the gelatin and water that we already have in there. Here we are. You can see that the mixture is beginning to boil. It's been on the stove for probably about 5 minutes, and it's currently up to about 210 degrees. And you'll see it'll start to bubble lightly like that. To get from 225 to 240 actually takes it quite a while to get up to that temperature. So we'll check in with you in a few minutes. Okay, we're just about up to our operating temperature of 240 degrees with the corn syrup, sugar, and water mixture. I'm going to do a quick check on the thermometer. See that we're at 240, so I'll take that guy off the stove, turn the stove off, and set this aside. Now you notice today we're working with the factory Yamaha sponsor from KitchenAid, so we will insert the factory sponsored whisk, and we will put that down and lock it and get that started. Then we're going to slowly mix in the mixture we just took off the stove. And you don't want to pour this in too quickly. You just want to kind of dribble it in so it can mix in with the gelatin mix, slow and easy. Once I have all this mixture in, I'll pour in the clear vanilla, and I like to put a little splash of Grand Marnier or something like that in it. It's actually surprising how much it absorbs of the flavor, so I'm adding somewhere around a tablespoon or more of Grand Marnier just to give it a little hint of flavor. You don't want to go too much because it may discolor it, because the marshmallows are such pure white when you use the clear vanilla. We'll rev it up a little more. This is probably the most time-consuming part of the process, is running the mixer until it gets to the proper thickness. Hopefully you can see how slowly I'm pouring that mixture there. Just about out. All done. The recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of clear vanilla. And that's about all I had, and you can see it is clear. I'll drop that in just for a bit of flavor. I'm going to put a tablespoon, a little more than a tablespoon of Grand Marnier in this batch. Maybe we won't. I'm all out of Grand Marnier. So a tablespoon of Grand Marnier too. And then you can mix this on high speed. It's going to take about 10 or 15 minutes on high to get the consistency we want with the mixture. I won't bore you with that. I'll check out for a few minutes. One thing you'll notice is the load on the motor will start to get a little heavier. That'll tell you that it's getting to the thickness you want to have. I'm going to turn this off and raise it up and see how much of a ribbon we have coming off of the bottom of the whisk, and it's still not there yet. I don't know if you'll be able to see it from that perspective. Getting close. You don't want it to be too thin, and you definitely don't want it to be too thick, because then you can't spread it out in the pan. I'm going to move the mixer out of the way and nearly trap my hand in it. Bring back our prepared pan and take off the whisk. Now you can see, hopefully, the ribbons that we were talking about. Pull the bowl off the mixer and pour it into the prepared pan. Set that whisk aside, and we're going to have plenty of leftover in the mixing bowl, so you got to have a spatula ready to get that out of there. A little cleanup and we're good to go. There it is. Give it a little shake. It'll settle down nicely, and cover it with foil. Leave it out in the garage or on the counter overnight and let it set up, and then in the morning or tomorrow night we'll come back and I'll show you how to cut them up. You notice how it's smoothed out. Don't worry about it too much. When the time we cut these all up into custom-made marshmallows, nobody's going to notice. They're going to be covered with confectioner's sugar as well. Okay, so welcome back. Here we are to the second phase of the marshmallow making, the most important and fun part of it, and without question the messiest part of it. So as you can see here, we have our finished marshmallow and it's stuck in the pan. We need that. We're going to need a sifter and some powdered sugar to get this party started. So I'm going to remove the marshmallows from the pan first, but before I do that, I'm going to sift some powdered sugar over the top of it so it doesn't stick when I put it on the cutting board. Okay, so here we go. We've changed orientation and position here. As you can see, have the marshmallows sitting on top of my cutting board. I'm going to put some powdered sugar in the sifter. And you're going to need a fair amount of this, so you can be liberal with it. Don't worry about it. It cleans up real easy. Just going to lightly sift all over, like that. Okay. I'm going to set the marshmallows aside, and again, sift on top of the cutting board. I don't want it sticking to the cutting board at all when I'm doing this. Set that aside. This is the cake decorating spatula that I use to help me separate the marshmallow from the foil, which you'll see coming up. I have the pizza cutter, and I have a paper towel with Wesson oil on it that I use to just keep some sort of non-stick coating on the pizza cutter when I start the cutting process. So I'm just going to peel this out of the pan. As you can see, it's very flexible. I'll tip it over like that and start to pull the foil back away from the marshmallow so it's not folded underneath. As you can see, it's very pliable, and this is where I start to use the spatula to help me peel away the marshmallow from the foil. This is a really nice little tool to have. It makes this a lot easier, and you can see how sticky it is. It's very easy to tear the foil, so you have to use a little bit of TLC when you're doing this process so you don't just destroy the surface of the marshmallows. So I'm going to go all the way around this until I get the foil removed. You can see we're nearing the end of the messiest part of this, is getting the foil off. You can tug on it pretty good. It doesn't tear very easily, so you can get somewhat forceful with it, and sometimes you have to anyhow, just to get it all off of there. Kind of see the stretch and swipe technique I've developed after a number of years of making these things to get this foil off of here. Okay, so we've got all of our foil off. I'll take a quick look down the back side around each edge just to make sure. And now I'll do another coat, healthy coat of powdered sugar over the top. Like so. Kind of line this up square so I can start the cutting process, and I usually cut them about 1 inch wide and just kind of slowly roll the pizza cutter through there. And after I take the first cut, you got to make sure that you tamp the fresh sides that are cut in the powdered sugar, and then I'll cut a few of these strips like this, and I always hold the back of it because it wants to push away from you, just like that. And I cut a few of them and roll them, and then I lay them up on top of the main chunk, just to give me some more room on the cutting board. Literally every time I make these, I wind up with this odd-shaped chunk of marshmallow when I get to the far end, just because it moves around so much when you're cutting it. Don't worry about it. It makes plenty, and when your assistants show up to help you taste test, they won't care that they're misshapen from the leftovers or scraps. Okay, again, takes the next 3 and just start trimming them up. You can see how gummy the pizza roller gets, but you can go quite a few of these before it gets really bad, where you have to, I usually run it under hot water and clean off the stuck sugar. Again, go through the separating process and just roll them around. If you have a helper at this stage, it makes it a lot easier too. You can see why you need so much powdered sugar. I told you they were sticky, right? Here I was rolling some of these, and I touched one on my finger, and you can see what happens. Yes, powdered sugar for you too, my good man. Like I said, I wind up with a weird shape. There it is. Trust me, if there's any kids in your house, you won't have problems getting rid of that odd-shaped marshmallow. There you have it. You can see there's quite a mountain of marshmallows on that dish. These are going into a special bag for a good friend. So there you have it. There's a mountain of marshmallows just for the holiday season. That's how you make homemade marshmallows. And bon appetit.